Referred to by some as the David Hasselhoff of Mount San Antonio College, Dr. David C. Lane is more than meets the eye. Featured here body surfing at Point Panic, Hawaii, Lane's life has been full of curiosities and adventure.
I think almost everybody's eccentric on something, but clearly I'm a strange person. And it's funny you say that because I remember, I turned vegetarian when I was 16.
Yeah.
And nobody was a vegetarian at the time I was vegetarian. My girlfriend was pissed at the time, and my mom was mad. But I remember my brother was working at a Valley Market, and one of the mothers to one of the girls I knew, she came to my brother and she goes, "You're a great guy, Joe, but your brother Dave, he's a weirdo." And it's because it was just different stuff. I was interested in Indian philosophy, vegetarian,
right.
Surf too much and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's true. But, the bottom line was I really didn't think about going the academic route for philosophy. What I rather thought was I wanted to travel around the world to research. My forte was Indian philosophy.
Right.
So I just tried to manipulate my undergraduate and graduate program.
Mm-hmm.
The way to look at it is I had three things in mind. I wanted to travel around the world, number one. I wanted to surf as much as possible.
Right.
And I love, research and books and stuff. So I just tried to manipulate going to India.
Manipulate he did. Lane used his education to fuel his passions, primarily philosophy.
I tell my students all the time not to be philosophy majors. Don't be philosophy. Here's my punchline. I say philosophy done well is science. Philosophy done poorly is, philosophy. I used to say religion, but that got people pissed. So the point being is that if Plato and Aristotle and Socrates lived today, they wouldn't do philosophy. They would do physics, neuroscience, evolutionary biology. That's what they would be doing. It accomplishes it. Most of philosophy, part of my language here, is intellectual masturbation. I took a philosophy class one time. I was like, dude, he goes, now do I have free will? Or am I free to even ask whether I have free will? Or is there, it's all this, like, who cares? Sounds like you smoked too much dope too late at night. You just got kicked out of Barnes & Noble, and you're sitting at a bar. So my bias, I'm not saying it's right. My bias is that in my philosophy classes, I cover, at the very beginning, I cover quantum mechanics, general theory of relativity. And then we move on to biology or evolutionary theory, natural selection. Then we move to neuroscience. So we're always doing science. And I'm saying what's left over, like the remainder, that's philosophy. But we try never to get to that point. Go there because different examples, like if you're driving your car and your car breaks down, well, you want somebody to fix your car, right? Now, if the car doesn't work, you can't fix it, nobody can fix it, then you get kind of religious. You might say, oh, come on, Jesus, please help me now, or Buddha, whatever. You get philosophical when you can't answer the question. So what I'm suggesting is that 95% of philosophy can be resolved if you do good science.
Lane used this good science to stand out in his field, becoming a cult expert.
Early on. So what happened is a guy named David Reif, because I had exposed this cult called Ekankar.
Right, I've read about that.
Stir.
Yeah.
He was one of the very first people to create a website on the World Wide Web, because you had to know HTML or hypertext markup language, which is really easy.
Yeah.
So he created this thing based on my book, right? So he posted it or whatever. And I said, well, shit, I should do the same thing. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Neural Surfer was one of the first of 500 websites on the internet.
Yep, he was right. It was one of the first 500 sites in 1993.
Yeah. So I created the Neural Surfer. Basically, really what it was to be able to produce content that was free for my students, because I don't believe they should have to pay for anything.
This carefree and bohemian attitude extends to his personal life.
It's the greatest sport in the whole world. I tell you, I went surfing yesterday with my childhood friends, and give you an example. My childhood friend is a guy named Pat Donahue. His brother is Terry Donahue, used to be a UCLA football coach. Okay? Pat Donahue runs a $2 billion company. Okay, he's a super great guy. But when you get him in the water, he's 8 years old again. But the very first time I ever learned how to surf was in Carlsbad, a place called Tamarack. And I remember standing up and the water rushing against my feet. And it was like a religious epiphany. I go, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. So I have manipulated my entire career. My brother Mike, who's now dead, was a professor of business at West Virginia. And he says, Dave, there's no damn way you're going to get a tenure track job in California. You're going to have to move over to me, over to the Midwest. I go, no way. So when Mount Sac offered me this job, I was living in San Diego because I won't move from the beach. I live in Huntington Harbor now. Mm-hmm. That's how addicting. Surfing is like heroin. I know everybody's mood changes. Like if there's a swell going on, every one of my friends is on it. Mm-hmm. Like we'll get out of anything, except for teaching. I can't do that. But but I ditched school, I ditched classes. Your whole life gets changed because of it. Because you know what it is? It's like you're out in the middle of the ocean. You're riding energy waves from thousands of miles away from New Zealand, from the tip of Baja, and you feel like you're alive. And you know this best. The happiest moments of your life are when you're in the full present moment.
Yeah. Like
when you want to be there, not moments you don't want to be, but when you're fully there, right? Well, surfing demands your full attention because otherwise there's a great white shark out there, there's a whale, there's seals, there's dolphins, jellyfish, stingrays, whatever. And then the waves come in.
Taking this hobby to the professional level, Lane is a 6-time body surfing champ and even won the coveted world title in 1999. As if you didn't love this guy enough already, he is a devoted family man as well.
Question. I've had a whole bunch of experiences. Like, I would say when I spoke in tongues, even though I'm not Christian, I'm kind of an agnostic, materialist mystic, which means I'm confused and don't know anything. I spoke in tongues when I was 15 years old. Wow. And I didn't even believe in all that stuff. And I have a neurological explanation for it now, like the skeptic explains it. But it was an amazing experience. So that kind of changed me. Going to India definitely changed me. Meeting Baba Fakir Chand or Charan Singh, transformative experiences. Meeting my wife, I know it sounds really sick, but I really fell in love with her. Like in love like I've never felt before. And that was worse than that. Once you really fall in love, don't get me wrong, I've claimed I was in love with it, too many times. But the point is, when you're really in love, it's like lights are out. There's nothing you can do. It's like you can't change it. It's like there's some kind of brain chemistry that twists you. And I knew when I fell in love with her. I remember the day I knew it. I was crying in my car, and I part of my life like, well, I fucked. I'm completely fucked.
Yeah.
Because I was in a situation that was complicated, and I had to get out of that situation, and it was just horrible. But there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And anybody who's never really been in love can never explain that to people. I tried to explain it to people.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
Lane's evolution of roles, including surfer, philosopher, skeptic, romantic, show his passions can be seen in a life worth noticing.
No, it's kind of cool because I tell stories that nobody believes. Like, I got sued, I got robbed by a cult leader, I got death threats for a year from Sai Baba devotees, and it's kind of fun. So it's great story stuff.
Right.
But after you've exposed as many cults as I have, you start to see the modus operandi. The good thing is, I think the best thing I ever learned, Nietzsche has that famous book, Human, All Too Human. Mm-hmm. And I think the more you realize how everybody's just a human being, it really helps. It liberates you, because I'm very human. I've done lots of bad things in my life. It meant not cult stuff, but you know what I mean. I'm just a human being, and it makes you a lot more tolerant to people's foibles. What you don't like is a cult leader who's not honest about his foibles. You understand? That tries to claim. Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So that's where you get critical. Like, example, if you claim to be God or something, we have every right to rip you apart.
Yeah.
If you claim to be a schmucky human being, hey, join the club.